For the longest time, electric vehicles seemed like something just happening on the sidelines, and some of you probably think they still are. The developments on this front have been making great headlines, but chances are you haven't seen those many electric cars in your neighborhood. But these are not just about headlines or random listicles. Buying an electric car is not about making some statement or even caring about the environment. If you've been an electric car skeptic, chances are you're going to find yourself changing your mind sooner than you realize. There are some obvious signs of the things that have happened and some cues about the things that are going to happen that you may not have caught on to just yet. But the change is happening, and it's happening fast. Is it worth it? This isn't a question we're asking of electric vehicles, but a question you probably are or eventually will ask of the ICE-powered stuff. The fact of the matter is that no matter what happens where in the world or who's in power where, we are always going to be paying heavily when it comes to petrol and diesel prices. We import the vast majority of all our crude oil, making us as a country vulnerable to changing fuel prices. Petrol and diesel also generate a massive amount of tax revenue, so while you may see some reductions in the duties on these two fuels, it's not going to ever get to the extent where it's so cheap that we think we're sitting on some kind of Saudi sauce surplus. And this is something you're going to realize more and more, especially as post-COVID office occupancy returns back to normal. Traffic in major cities has only been getting worse by every passing minute. For example, in the city of Mumbai, traveling from the suburb of Borivali to BKC in Bandra, a distance of just about 25 kilometers, takes an hour in non-peak time. In peak hours, you can easily add another 40 minutes to an hour to that distance, and frustration and waste of time aside, you're quite literally burning money just to sit idle. Contrarily, EVs are not only cheaper to fuel up, they also don't waste energy just to keep running in traffic. So even if you aren't being incentivized to go towards electric vehicles, you are being penalized enough with the ICE-powered stuff to move in this direction. Everyone talks about the public charging infrastructure and its limitations when it comes to car charging, but the reality is that home, work, and portable charging are what prove to be the real game changers. Most people buy their cars to drive known distances to the office, grocery store, the gym, maybe to your kid's school, and very rarely does that distance exceed 50 to 60 kilometers per day. As long as you can charge up at home or your workplace, you don't necessarily need access to a fast charger, nor do you need a car that has a very high claimed range. And here's something I need to get off my chest. Those 0 to 80% or 0 to 100% charge times seem very long. But unless you're the kind of driver who likes to torture their car, only fueling up when your car has hit reserve and you treat your low fuel warning as some kind of Diwali light you like to leave on all the time, you're not going to be charging up from 0%. It's usually going to be upwards from 40 to 50%, and it can be done on a daily basis. Of course, these are not sweeping statements, and people who are limited by public parking will also be limited by public charging or at the very least workplace charging. And at the same time, if you are someone who has a lot of outstation travel, chances are you're going to require at least 300 to 350 kilometers of guaranteed, not lab-tested range. But the changes outside of the public charging network are growing quickly, especially since the governments, both central as state, are all for it. The push towards electric vehicles will come from car manufacturers whether they want it or not. One of the biggest challenges of car production is managing efficiency and emission norms. And no manufacturer really develops a car for just one market, but efficiency and emission norms vary from market to market, which makes a one-size-fits-all approach that much more difficult. With electric vehicles, this is a challenge they can basically circumvent because there's zero tailpipe emissions. And the fact of the matter is that these norms are only going to get more stringent with time. In India, the corporate average fuel efficiency or CAFE norms are going to double down hard on CO2 emissions from 2023. And these norms apply to CNG, LPG, petrol and diesel vehicles. And this is also a major reason why so many manufacturers stopped offering diesel engines. To keep up with these norms worldwide, manufacturers have to keep pumping more and more money into R&D, which is making less and less sense in the long term. Of course, we're not saying that most manufacturers are going to shift to EV outright, but norms like CAFE deal with a weighted average of all the cars that a particular brand sells, which means that selling an EV in your model range helps you keep a petrol car on sale. It kind of acts like a cheat code. That's exactly what Aston Martin did some 12 years ago. Fleet emissions targets meant that they needed something fuel efficient to balance out their thirsty V12 supercars, which is why they used the Toyota IQ hatchback as a base and reworked it into what we know as the Aston Martin Signet. It didn't work, of course, because they overpriced the daylights out of it, but this is the kind of role you can imagine EVs playing for a lot of car makers today. And manufacturers are switching their R&D to focus on electrics or at the very least electrification. This is why going forward you're going to see fewer and fewer combustion engine vehicles that are built on brand new platforms unless those platforms have also been built to accommodate electric powertrains. Otherwise, you're going to see heavily modified versions or updated versions of existing platforms like we've seen with the Baleno, Glanza and even the current generation of the Honda City. Jaguar Land Rover's entire range will be electrified within this decade. Ford will launch 7 new electric vehicles in Europe. Audi is killing the development of new internal combustion engines by the end of 2026. Mercedes plans to go all electric only in major markets by 2030. Most new Tata cars are or will be coming with electric counterparts. Mahindra will be revealing 3 new battery electric vehicle designs this year, with the launch offensive of these fresh EVs expected from 2025, and even Maruti Suzuki and Toyota are expected to introduce their brand new electric SUV by 2025. Even the budget EV space has seen some big developments, with an affordable car like the Tata Tigor EV proving to be not only spacious, practical, loaded and comfortable, but it can also deliver a real-world range of between 180 to 200 kilometers without expecting some major change in your driving style. So then, am I saying that your next car has to be an electric vehicle? No, I'm not even saying that my next car is guaranteed to be an EV, but I am saying that it's a bad time to be an electric vehicle skeptic. Personally speaking, if I had a daily commute in a city like Mumbai, Delhi or Bangalore, I would seriously be looking at an electric vehicle, because spending all that money on a petrol or diesel car and burning those bajillions of rupees on bajillions of liters of petrol and diesel only to sit idle in traffic and, if you're lucky, manage an average speed of 15 kilometers per hour sounds hilariously painful. Before I sign off, a request to any EV owners in the comments section. Were you an EV skeptic? What changed your mind and how has your experience been so far? Let us know in the comment section down below so the community can benefit from your experience. And as always, if you did not like this video, give it a dislike. But if you did, give it a thumbs up, share this video and subscribe if you have not already.